did not see this bill at all, so if you or someone could give us an explanation of it.
Yeah, if David, do you want to give an explanation on 37, and we can kind of discuss it back and forth a bit after? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, House Substitute Senate Bill 37. This would enact the Countries of Concern Divestment and Procurement Protection Act. This would require divestment via state-managed funds, including the Capers Trust Fund, from investments with countries of concern. Prohibits investments and deposits with any bank or company domiciled in a country of concern. It would also prohibit state agencies from procuring final or finished goods or services from a foreign principal, which is defined in the bill. There's also indemnification for any state managed fund for actions taken in compliance with the act. And then there's a sunset date on the act of July 1 of 2029, with a notification requirement in 2028 to the legislature that this act is due to sunset, just to give a heads up to the legislature.
And Mr. Chair, we'd love to stand for any questions you guys had about it.
Yeah,
I got tons of questions, but
it might be better if you gave us a little bit of time that we could even study the language. I'm not sure we've done that yet. So let us pull the bill and see what kind of concerns or questions we may have. Senate Bill 406, it looks like you added an exemption for agents of payer, basically payroll processors.
Yeah, payroll processors. This was a request we had. We did work with the Office of Banking Commissioner on the language, and they did approve the language. The payroll processors were not in the original Money Transmitter Act, and this would pull them in kind of inadvertently. And we're mainly focusing on those small mom and pop payroll processors. So they did work with the OSBC on the language that they found acceptable, and we omitted that in.
And then House Bill 2105. I guess for the audience's description, 2105 came to us last year as passed from you guys, and then it came late in the session. I was contacted that all of the interested parties were going to work on new language over the interim. And then they brought us a very large balloon that we worked off of 2105. So there's a considerable amount of new language in that from when you last saw it. Don't know what your thoughts or questions on that might be.
So I think just talking with my ranking and my vice chair earlier today, I think most of the language I think we do find acceptable. There are a couple of pieces we would like to change and revert back to the original language in the House position, namely page 2, lines 24 through 35 in the original bill. And then page 5, lines 29 and 30. This would just institute that there has to be one option free of charge for a consumer.
Can you give me the page 2 lines again?
Yeah, page 2, lines 24 through 35, and then page 5, lines 29 and 30.
Okay. We'll just take a look at that.
It says consumer, does he need the employee?
Go ahead. Yeah.
On page 2, when you talk about the consumer, you're talking about the employee that would be taking out the.
Yeah, the consumer would be the employee taking out the I guess the advance on their wages.
And what kind of, do they already have ways to have zero fee options? I mean, would we be expecting them to provide this as a free service?
Possibly, but how it works is by providing it as a free service. There's, I guess we'll call them accelerators for getting your money sooner. So there's tipping options to get your money sooner. Usually with the free option, you get it 24 to 48 hours. And then if you do a pay option or a tipping option, that accelerates that payment to basically instantly. So we kind of want to have at least one, the ability for one basically free of charge transaction on it. And that was in the original language that the industry brought us from the beginning.
So was that modification to go away from the free option? Did that happen in the House?
That happened in the Senate. That was in the balloon amendment in the Senate, the amendment that you guys put on, I believe, this year.
So the balloon amendment had the change in it after some of the partners had gotten together over the summertime and brought that amendment to us. Is that correct?
Yeah. But in the original language they brought to us, the free option was in there.
We'll take a look at that. And then looks like House Bill 2560, 62, and 2577 were just date change on the registers. So looked like all three of them had really strong votes in both the House and the Senate. So 2711, we made a couple of modifications to. First of all, we had a request to consider exempting Capers affiliated CDDOs for a period of 2 years. And then also on the floor, we inserted the contents of Senate Bill 172, which would increase the lump sum death benefit for Capers retirees from $4,000 to $6,000. We had sent that over to you with a very strong vote, and I think you removed the contents of it and put something else in it. So we added that back on the Senate floor.
So our position on this, the changes you guys made to the underlying bill, the working after retirement bill, are acceptable, and we'll accept those changes. We do have some concerns with the contents of SB 172, especially the fiscal note. We did not hear this in committee. Obviously, didn't pass it out, passed it across our floor. We would like to study it a little more, take a look at the fiscal note, the impact it has, especially on the employer contribution side. So we might need to have further discussions on that piece.
Okay. And then it looks like we've got Senate Bill 23 and substitute for House Bill 2103. That was the removal of the statutory limit on alternative investments in Capers. You guys passed the bill without a limitation, as I understand, and we moved the cap from 15 to 20%. So we'll need to have a discussion on how you want to rectify that.
Yeah, and looking by our vote count, we passed it out 113 to 3, so a pretty strong vote on our side. But we are amendable to negotiate on that down a little bit to see if we can find some common ground and pathway forward. Our concern on this is we bump it up to 20%. Are we going to be back in a year or two having this exact same conversation? So we might see if we can find some middle ground on that.
Okay, very good. House Bill 2101 was the contract for deed bill. Unfortunately, I did not get the conference committee or the committee report turned in time for us to consider it last week. So we have not had that piece pass our body. We did in committee add a couple of amendments that if you want to move forward on this bill that we'd like for you to consider. They're listed on the sheet there. And so we had one that gave the buyers some protection in case the contract for deed buyer does not pay. We put some protections in for the seller there. And then we also put in a piece for cease and desist on someone who is acting as a real estate agent but is not licensed.
And we've had the opportunity, myself, my ranking, and my vice chair to look over these, and we do find the Senate committee amendments acceptable. We did pass 2101 before the amendments out 118 to 1, so pretty strong House position on this. But we do believe that the Senate amendments do make it a better bill. We do have one suggestion on our side. we would like to also insert the contents of HB 2376. And that is a bill that passed the House. I do not have the vote total with me. My ranking's going to look it up right now, or my vice chair. This is a bill that, what's that? 121-0 last year. It's currently sitting in Senate, Fed, and State. And this would ban racial covenants within our contract laws. And this is something that we've been trying to work it to get passed for a few years now, and we feel that this might be a good spot to stick it in.
Okay, we'll certainly take a look at that. The only other matter that I'm aware of is I emptied the contents out of 2247 to put the UCCC bill in there. I do think those contents are something that a number of people are interested in. So if you guys would help me find a place that might be agreeable to put, it's the foster care bank account.
And it looks like we passed that out of our side 114-7. So yeah, we would be pretty amenable to finding a home for it if we could.
I needed to find someplace to put the UCCC and
absolutely
hoping that there would be ways to find someplace to put that language. So.
Yep, no objection on our side.
Do you remember what the objections of those 7 might have been on that 2247? What was the nature of?
I don't remember because we passed this last year. I want to say early last year. So it's been a while. I think there might have been a few folks who just kind of misunderstood what we were doing and the liabilities that the banks would have on this. But as I remember correctly, the banks were involved in drafting this or the amendment. I believe we had an amendment on there, but they were involved in the process and they are supporters of this.
Are there any bills that you're aware of that your members are not in favor of, or anything that we need to?
Nothing really on our side. I think everything we passed out was by a pretty healthy margin, other than the SB 37. While that was a bipartisan vote, passed 85-38. However, we do still find that as a priority, and like I said, it was still a bipartisan vote on that one.
Well, I think we have a number of new contents that we need to consider, and we need a little bit of time to do that, and then maybe we can study that and come back with, let you know what our feelings are on those pieces of legislation, and maybe make a first round offer or something like that. So
absolutely. Tomorrow morning, that'd be soon enough for you guys and staff?
I would think so.
Okay.
Are you guys available at like 9:30?
9 a.m.?
9 a.m.?
9 a.m. works for us.
You want to call that since I called this one?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then, yep, and we will get a room, and I'll let you know what that is, and we'll go from there.
We'll see you at 9 a.m.
All right. Thank you, sir.